Hello everyone. So I have picked 3 problems to help us practice solving equations that have a variable on both sides of the equal sign. So the order that I go in when I'm solving these equations is I distribute, then I combine like terms, and then I get x on one side by itself. Now not every problem will have all 3 steps, but let's just jot down. We're going to try to distribute if we need to, then combine like terms, and then get x on one side by itself. So we're going to just follow that pattern of steps in these 3 problems. So in my problem number 1, there's no distributing because there's no parentheses. Combine like terms, what I mean by that is when you look on each side of the equals, if I look at that, nothing can be combined because there's only one term with x and the other is just a number. Same with over here. If we decide if we can combine like terms, we can't. In our other problems, they're a little bit harder, so we will be able to distribute and combine like terms. But in this problem, number 1, all we really need to start with is getting x on a side by itself. Now what I would pick to do is add 6x both to here and over to here, because if you strategically do that, the x will come out positive. So there, it's gone. On this side of the equals, I'm left with 8. Over here, this is adding up to 10x, and then I still have minus 12. Now, I'm wanting to get the x completely by itself. It's right there. So the very next thing is to add 12 to the other side. Plus 12. When you're getting x completely alone, you always either add or subtract first before you do any multiplying or dividing. Multiplying and dividing will always be your last step. So that cancels. We get 20 equals 10x. Now see, here's my dividing step. I'm going to divide by 10 on both sides. So that gives me 2 equals x. And that's an important thing to remember when you're doing this third step here of getting x on one side by itself. You always do the order of operations backwards. So you add or subtract first, and then you can multiply or divide anything that you need to second. So now let's try our next problem. This one, number 2, has distributing. I'm going to distribute the negative 4 into the parentheses by multiplying, so I'm going to have negative 12 and then plus 4n. Multiply 2 negatives and you get a positive. Then on the other side of the equals, I'm going to distribute the 11, so that gives us 44n minus 33, because positive 11 times negative 3 is negative 33. Now I'm on the step where I'm checking to see if we can combine like terms, but again, when I look at this, there's nothing to combine, and when I look at this stuff, there's nothing to combine there either. So now we're just going to move in so that it is on its own side by itself. So I am going to choose to subtract 4n from both sides, because again, that way I will have more positive numbers. So it's gone there, but I still have negative 12 equals, this is going to become 40n minus 33. You probably just noticed, I always move the term that has the n or the x first. Then I look at what's on the same side with the n, like right there, I have 40n minus 33. So now I am going to add the 33 back over this direction. And that gives me 21 equals 40n. And then my final step is to divide both sides by 40. So I'm going to have 21 divided by 40. That cancels the 40s over there. And then, let me just move this other problem. All right, so then that gives us our answer, and it's fine to have a fraction. 21 over 40 equals n. And that does not reduce, so you can just leave it as is, just like that. All right, now we're going to tackle our third and final problem. This problem is going to have everything. There's distributing, there's combining like terms, and then we're going to be getting the x completely alone. So let's just move this up. All right, so number one, we're going to distribute. This negative right here, a minus sign, a negative, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. We're going to distribute the negative. Now, a lot of people like to write a 1 right there. It just kind of helps it to make more sense. So we have the 2x, but then negative 1 times 5 is negative 5, and then negative 1 times negative 3x is positive 3x. And see, positives are the same thing as plus signs. There's no difference between the two. And then over here we have 2x, and now we're going to distribute the positive 7 through the parentheses. So that gives me positive 7x and then plus 7, just like that. Now finally in this problem we have combining like terms, because when I look on this side of the equals, I have 2x plus 3x that I can combine. Now you only combine terms that are on the same side of the equals with each other. So this is going to turn into 5x minus 5 equals, then if we look closely at this side, 2x plus 7x could combine into 9x, and then we still have the plus 7 at the end. Now I'm to the part where I want to get x on one side by itself. So I always move the things that have the x in them first, which means I'm going to choose to subtract the 5x over to there. Now you could subtract the 9x. I just keep picking to do it this way because then my numbers come out positive. So negative 5 equals positive 4x, see how that came out positive, and then plus 7. Now here's the part where I was saying you always add or subtract first, followed by multiplication or division second. So what I'm going to do is get x alone by subtracting the 7 first from both sides, so it's gone there. So I get negative 12 equals 4x. And then finally, to get x completely alone, I have to divide both sides by 4. Which that does divide evenly. We don't have to leave it as a fraction. Negative 12 over 4 is negative 3. So negative 3 equals x. And that's it. If you follow these 3 steps, distributing, combining like terms, getting x on one side by itself, most problems will follow that format. And that's it.